right, everybody. What's up, DawgNation? I want you to check the smile. So, like, if you've ever been in athletics and you see somebody that's in charge of something, it's kind of like Arthur Smith these days when he knows he's going to give the ball to Bijan Robinson. It's kind of like Kirby Smart back in the days when he knows he's going to feed the ball to Chubb and Michelle, Zamir, James Cook, Kenny McIntosh. That's kind of how I feel about tonight's show. When I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat to start the show, Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger, where we talk about the guys on their way to play at UGA. When I'm smiling like this, that means I know I got a pretty dadgum good show in the books for tonight, or at least in the can. We have a very special live guest to join us tonight. We're going to go through all the things. We're going to go through the Big Five. We're going to have a conversation with a five-star target in the 2025 class. We're going to talk about the recruiting weekend that was. Lots of good stuff. I'm going to give you guys something that no one has seen before that will literally cause your jaw to drop on the show. Of course, we'll talk about the remaining top targets. There's 3. There's a little bit of reorganization with the top remaining targets for the 2024 class. But first things first, we're going to lead off with a dude. That would be All-American linebacker Chris Cole out of Salem, Virginia. He is our live guest tonight on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. If you guys are on Facebook, if you guys are on Twitter, if you guys are on the DawgNation homepage, if you guys are on anywhere, any of our platforms, YouTube, could not forget YouTube, join me in welcoming Chris Cole, Salem, Virginia, pride of Salem, to the Before the Hedges program. Chris, man, what is up, man? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, sir. I guess you've gotten a lot better as a football player over the last 2 or 3 weeks because your rankings keep going, man. I know You're not a dude that probably pays attention to that, but part of my job is to pay attention to that. You're now the number 3 linebacker in the country. Of course, the number 1 linebacker in the country is also committed to them dogs. That would be Justin Williams. Chris, what do you think about that? Are you like, man, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I'm glad somebody's recognizing it, or how do you take some good news like that?
Well, I'm just excited about it. I work hard, throughout the off season, and most of that, throughout my whole life, to be here, and then out during the season, I just been balling out and just having fun, with my teammates. So I'm super blessed, and I'm just thankful for it.
Chris, I don't know what I'm more excited to talk to folks about tonight regarding you. There's the touchdown pass you caught recently. I guess we'll get into that. Anytime linebackers can get in the end zone, we love hearing about that. We love talking about that. But I think for me, one of the central core of your story is, he's a tremendous athlete. Yeah, he used to be 6'3", 185 pounds, 190 pounds this time a year ago. Now he's about 6'3 and a half, 220, 225. He used to be a safety. Now he's a linebacker. That's all great. But that's kind of what Georgia recruits every year. The uncommon and the special part of Chris Cole's story is he wants to be Dr. Cole one day. He wants to go into sports medicine. That would be an intro for him. And he wants to be known as Dr. Cole when he gets through playing football, probably 20 years from now, hopefully, Lord willing. But Chris, and it really sounds like things we were talking about on Before the Hedges 5, 6, 7 years ago with Nakobe Dean, except Nakobe Dean is not 6'3 and a half. He never made a B in high school. We think Chris Cole has 1 B in high school as of this record right now. And Chris, I got to ask you, man, hey, man, what's up with that B, man? Why couldn't you knock out all those A's? I bet that Spanish class was probably 4 45s on the bar. What was it like, and how do you feel about that academic transcript you've put together as well as all this athletic accomplishment?
Yes, sir. The first thing is just the academics. I say that's super important to me and also my family too. So that B, I was kind of down about it because mostly I just make just all A's. It wasn't Spanish. But the last assignment I had, I got an 89 on it, and then for an A, you have a 90. So I was that close.
Oh, no.
I was butt off just all year in the class and just all in the classroom too. So it was just a big bummer, really.
Look at that. We couldn't have coached him up any better. But guys, this is Chris Cole. I tell that story, and the young man has a bookcase literally behind him as his. I don't think that's his Zoom background, virtual background. I bet that is his actual place where he gets all those A's. Chris, let me ask you this. I love this question too. It's kind of two-parter. First thing, what's the number one thing that attracted you to really strongly consider Georgia? And then the second part is, what's the number one thing which made you want to trust Georgia with your career? So, like, what caught your eye about Georgia, and then what caught your heart about Georgia?
Yes, sir. I say the first thing about me, just like development side, really. Georgia has like developed many linebackers, and I say like that was the first thing about me. And I say the second thing was just like when I went there on campus for my first time, like back in March. I just fell in love with the program, the coaching staff, and the main thing is just like the players, and then also like the community too. Like Coach Hugh's like a great coach, and he just really cares about his players, and like that's what I like about Georgia, really.
Chris, I think you went in March and you got the offer, and then I think you went back in May right before the official visits could happen. I don't know, from talking to you and kind of following your story, I get the feeling that the Dogs were really in it for you by that point. Like, I don't know if you knew you were going to be Georgia yet, but it certainly sounded like Georgia was right in the thick of it for it. I mean, now that you've committed and the whole world knows you're going to be a Dog, like, how early did it seem to you like that was going to be the move?
I say the earliest, like when I went there, like on like my OV, I was able to like, hang out with the players and just get to learn more about like, the coaching staff and I say like the community too, because like Athens has like great people all around the program. So I just felt that that like I would fit in good there, and I kind of felt it like around that time.
Chris, you were in Georgia for the first time. I think that was your first game day visit on Saturday. Walk me through that. Like, what caught your eye? What was special? You know, I can always look at the recruits in the bleachers, and I know I can see, like, oh, my gosh, they've never heard the trumpet or they've never heard the call of the Dogs before. Like, what was that whole weekend like for you being in Sanford on a game day for the first time, man? What are your favorite parts of that?
I'd say just that the whole thing was like awesome. Like that was like one of the best games, like college games like I ever been to. Like the crazy thing that caught my eye was like when it was raining. I say like it didn't stop the fans. Like it made them louder, and that was like the first I ever seen because it was like pouring down rain. The fans were getting loud. So I just loved like the atmosphere, and it was a great time there.
Did you get a chance to talk to the coaches or other commitments? Who'd you click with? Did you get a chance to talk to Justin at all? What was that like for you?
Well, like I was able to meet like a lot of new people. Like I met Justin for the first time, and I also I think I was able to talk to like Dylan. Like I met him for the first time in person, and also Chris too. Like we talk like most of the time too.
I guess, Chris, I got to ask you, this is something that happened recently. I think you caught a fade ball. You scored a touchdown. You were a slot receiver. Tell me about that. We've got some of your highlights here that is going to go in the interview, but like, tell me about that. And what does a linebacker do when he gets in the end zone? Do you have like a dance in mind? Do you hand the ball to the referee, which is perfectly fine, but some might find it a little old school and boring? Like, what did you do what was the feeling like of scoring? It's special for any defensive player once they get 6 points.
Like it felt great. Like my school, like most is like a run game school. So like, so when you get the ball, like that means like you had to make a play. The coach called your way. It was like a 90 ball. It was like a 50-50 ball, like a fade ball. And then I caught it, and then like, I just felt like on my shoulders. Like I just like it's too easy. So like whatever like I think in the moment, like I just do it. But it felt awesome to catch a TD.
Was that your first one?
No, it was my second.
So Chris, I know a little bit about your story maybe that most folks don't, and that was one of your mentors, I guess, Coach Glover. He was, the father, I guess, of Tony Grimes, who back in COVID times, I thought he eventually chose North Carolina, but if visits could have kept happening, then I thought there was a good chance that maybe Tony might wind up a Dog. Of course, that never happened, and he ends up at North Carolina. Great decision for him and his family. But like, did you get any sort of insight beforehand about what Kirby, what Schumann, what the Georgia program was going to be like from that experience from one of your mentors? Like, did you get a good read on Georgia coming in?
Yes, sir. I mean, like he had like a great word on Georgia. Like he really just loved like the coaching staff, and like they were like always real. Because like like no matter if you didn't come there or not, like just have like just to have like the relationship with the coaches is awesome. And he just told me like, and then like he told me like a lot about Coach Yu. He's a great person, and like he really just like cares about his players.
Chris, it's kind of funny. You're the 27th commitment in the class, and normally when an All-American like yourself, top 60 overall prospect commits, they get the chance to work on somebody. They get the chance to try to commit others, build the class to follow them. I think there's only like 4 or 5 names left that Georgia is recruiting. Is there anybody out there that you want to work on that you maybe you talk to or reach out to from maybe the group chat that all the commits are in or whatever? But like, is there anybody out there that you'd really like to also see become a dog? I know you and Christopher are part of that V8 #V8 to GA movement, but like, I guess what's it like being part of a class that's almost done, and then who would you like to see join the class?
I say like being a part of this class, like it's awesome. Like we have a lot of talent in this class, and like I say like we're like one of like the best classes. But like I say right now is the main person that I want to get, and like that also helped me is the D lineman from California. Oh, like that'd be like a big like get because it just make like my job easier. Like he's a great player, like how to play, and then like he flies around just like me. So now like us on the field, I would be epic.
Yeah, one of those big defensive linemen. I mean, what 2 on him, 2 on me.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the linebackers go free. I mean, did you get a chance to see? I know Aiden Breland was a big visitor. Did you get a chance to see Mekhi Barrow, the big zero tech? Aiden's probably not at zero tech, but the young man who recently decommitted from Florida, I believe he's 6'5", he's 365. Mm-hmm. What did you think seeing a large human being like that, man?
Yes, like I've seen him, and like it's just awesome. I mean, like it makes my job like easier because like if he gets double teamed, like that's just like a free play for me. So like, we definitely gotta get him. He's a great.
Guys, this is a part of your program. If you got a part of the program, I always make sure your questions get in. Guys, if you have a question for Chris, I'm looking on the DawgNation homepage. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm looking on Facebook right now. We'll go just a couple more minutes with Chris to make sure we get a chance to get the fans to have a chance to get to know him, because I'm going to tell you guys, I wrote it in the commitment story. This is one of those commitments that you guys are going to look back and think, didn't know it at the time, even though he was already the 7th highest rated player in the class, which says something about Georgia's class when the number 52, 56 overall player in the country chooses the Dogs, and there's 6 guys rated higher than them as far as those rankings go. But like, this is a young man that's going to be an asset to the university even before he does anything on a football field. This is a young man that's wired to be a winner. This is a young man that's going to come in. Like, think about the self-discipline it takes for a guy that had big offers, 6'3", 185 is his safety, 4-star offers, really strong Power 5 offers, and then for him to change his body to go play inside the box. Took a lot of workouts, took a lot of lifting for him to put on that weight and become more explosive. Folks, you don't know this. I want you to just take a good look at Chris again in his study lab, in his study hall. It looks like he's wired for A's. But this is a young man that ran the hurdles in about 8.5 seconds. I think he finished in the Nike Nationals, top 5, maybe top 6 overall. And that's a linebacker for the University of Georgia. You can't believe, I mean, this is the type of guy that Schumann takes, gives him 3 or 4 years in the pressure cooker that is Georgia, and then he becomes a first-round pick. You guys got a question? This is from David Riddle. Lots of comments coming in, Chris. They're saying really excited about Cole being in this class. David Riddle wants to know, is there a linebacker in the NFL that you pattern your game after?
I say like the Edmond brothers. Really, like I grew up from like watching them. Just like how like fast they were and how they flew to the ball. I say them.
You like those guys, huh?
Yes, I do.
Chris, let me hop on YouTube. Yeah, a lot of people are saying Smart. I love this kid already. They're talking about all the linebackers. Jamon Dumas-Johnson, Shamal Munden. I think those guys will be in the NFL soon. But Sorey, E.J. Lightsey, C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, just like a lot of guys. Chris, who was your host on your official, and who were the guys that really plugged you into Georgia?
I say it was C.J. Allen and also like Raylan Wilson. Like I hang out with them like after like we ate dinner and all that. Like they're great people. Like I really had a great conversation with them, but then I also got their side on how they like on like the school.
Chris, I know a lot of guys my age want to know this. Can you share with us the secret of how you put on 40 pounds in like 4 or 5 months and you become faster and more explosive? Like, I'm sure the secret is no secret. The secret is hard work. But how did you go about doing that?
I mean, I say the first thing was just like hard work, but then I say food wise, I I will recommend like chicken Alfredo. Like I ate that like all the time, and I lifted, trained, ran track, and I said like the fast, the thing like that made me fast was tracking the hurdles. Like I said, like a big difference on like my legs like after the season, like they got bigger from hurdling. I said that helped me.
Hurdlers, that's a new one for behind the scenes, before the hedges, Sentell's Intels right here. We don't see backers. We don't see defensive guys running the hurdles. Chris, the questions are coming in fast and furious now. Phil Rogers, he wants to go into sports medicine. That's what he's planning to study. Chris Slim White has one. What number would you like to wear at Georgia? Do you have your eye on any number?
I say right now either like number 3 or like number 9 or 2.
Those are good ones. Single digit, man. You got to be a great player to get that single digit.
Definitely.
People are calling you Dr. Cole. People are calling you, do you like the tag Dr. Doom? What do you think about that? You like either of those nicknames?
I like Dr. Cole. I like that nickname.
Let me see. Size. David Riddle says your size reminds him of Quay Walker. The best that Jerry Popham has this comment. He says, the best I can see, it looks like it's 40 pounds of all muscle. A lot of welcomes, a lot of smart kids. Let me go all the way to Floyd County. We've got a Floyd County native in here that wants to know. That's Rome, Georgia. That's Northwest Georgia. They want to know if there's an opponent, a future opponent for the Dogs that you can't wait to play and compete against. You got your eye on anybody you'd love to see?
Like you mean like
so there's like a team that you know when you're playing college football, like you're like, oh my gosh, this is the real thing. Like which team as a Bulldog can you not wait to face?
I say Tennessee.
Why?
I like that because like one of my friends, like Payne Lewis, he's like the running back there. So like we definitely play each other, and that'd be a great game.
Wow, Chris. Let me just take one or two more questions. First of all, the thing. What was the thing that Schumann told you that you realized this guy knows what he's talking about? Like if you're a recruit and it's the point where you're getting on the board, what does Schumann just convey immediately about how he understands the game?
I say like my OV, and then also like when I went there like back in March, like I seen him practice, and like he really knows what he talk about. Like I say, he's like a genius, like football, because like he never played like a snap of football, but like he knows everything about it. And then obviously like just like all the players, like he like developed. I can see like he knows a lot about football, and I can't wait to be coached by him.
Genius, that's pretty good. We got a YouTube question here from I Play Games. He wants to know, when did you know you were a really good football player? I think that's an uncommon question, but I'm curious to know. You probably have a great take on it. When did you know you were good?
I say back when I was like 6 years old. I remember like my first time on the field. I played running back, and then I played safety too. And I remember at the first play, like I scored a touchdown. I was like, oh yeah, I like this. Like I found somebody, and then I juked them like an 80-yard touchdown, and I was like, oh yeah, this is my sport. And just like ever since, I just loved it.
Chris, this is the thank you portion of the show. Like, when you see people get an Oscar or an ESPY, they like to thank all the people that got them there. For you, who are the biggest influences in your life? You certainly project. You certainly come across as a well-rounded kid, going to be great 40 years from now, not just during your football career. But, like, for you, who are the biggest people in your life that helped you get to where you are right now?
First, just like God. I'm just like blessing me for all the opportunities that like he gave me, and I say just like my whole family. They always supported me. My mom, like the first one, like she been with me like throughout the whole process, and she always helped me. She always took me to practice and just always supported me. And then also, I said my coaches, like from the Raiders, like when they first started me, like playing football, and also like Salem football, my friends, my teammate, then also my coaches too for always like believing in me and like pushing me at practice.
Goodness, man, the questions are getting better. I'm going to try to have to stop this a little bit. Randy Hall wants to know, what's your scouting report on Christopher C. Jones, your fellow Virginia backer in the class?
Like he's like a big backer. Like he's fast. Like he's physical, just like me. And I said like play against each other. Like that'd be like a great duo. He's gonna fly around, hit people. He's a great player.
Fly around, hit people. That's a good motto. That needs to be on a T-shirt.
Okay.
Chris, you got an amazing compliment here. A player parallel from Travis McCullough. He used the fire emoji in this comment. He said that 3 would be fire, just like Roquan. Man, number 3, Roquan. What would that be like if you're wearing 3 at Georgia? Man, that would be an extreme honor and a lot to live up to.
Yes, like that'd be like an honor for me, definitely.
We'll end on this one. The gentleman from Tifton, man, if he wanted to run for office, he'd make a good politician because everybody loves him. Randy Cole has a question for you. I love these off-the-field questions. Randy Cole wants to know, basically, you got a good movie. Like if you wanted to recommend a movie, it doesn't have to be the best movie you've ever seen because that's a very, very much on-the-spot question. But tell us a movie you've watched recently that you would recommend to a friend.
I say recently I watched was like The City Is too. I'm really into kind of horror movies.
Wow.
And so yeah, I definitely say like The City Is too. It's a great movie.
Do you have an all-time favorite movie?
I say all the time.
I guess a kid.
That's all. I don't have one.
A kid from Virginia has to like Friday Night Lights. I'm not Friday Night Lights, but Remember the Titans, right? You have to watch that in like kindergarten, right?
Yes, I watched that. Yep.
We have an internal DawgNation question here. Chris, have you seen the movie Remember the Titans? No,
yes, I have.
Not Remember the Titans. My bad. Friday Night Lights. Have you seen the movie version?
No, I haven't seen the movie version.
Have you seen the television version? The one with Michael B. Jordan, the one with a lot of guys. Have you seen the NBC show Friday Night Lights?
Yes, I have.
What do you think about that? Do you like that? Do you think it kind of mirrors football, high school football a little bit? What do you like about that show?
I mean, like I say, I said like it kind of does like mirror it, just a little bit though. Like it just shows just like all of the details. I say.
Tim Riggins, you like that? Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, Texas forever. You like all that stuff?
Yes, I do.
How can you not like Friday Night Lights? If you wanted the 1001 reasons to like Chris Cole is a Friday Night Lights television show guy, not a Friday Night Lights movie Billy Bob Thornton guy. Chris, let me give you my biggest, most amazing All-American thanks. Chris, thank you for being part of our program. I'm gonna give you one last thing. If you got a message for DawgNation, you're going to be there next January. What's your message to all the fans out there about what you hope to do for this great university?
I hope to bring like a big impact to the Georgia defense. I'm be like a great student athlete, just like a great humble person too. I'm going to come there and just show people who I am and make a name for myself.
Chris Cole, man, can't do it any better than that. Chris Cole, man, thank you for joining us on the Before the Hedges, and we can't wait to follow you throughout your entire remaining high school season. We'll see you at the Under Armour All-American game down in Orlando, and then we'll see you in Athens in the spring, man. Appreciate you taking some time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
What'd I tell you? Chris Cole, what'd I tell you, guys? Kind of rolls off the tongue, might wear 3. Dr. Cole, he is an old school Friday Night Lights person. Not the movie version. It's just good stuff today on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. That was the number 1 item on your Big 5. Second item, recent big visitor. And I've been trying to get this video to you guys for a couple weeks now. We just had a lot of loaded shows, a lot of interviews, a lot of more pressing things. But the nation's number 1 prospect for 2025 was in Athens again this past weekend for the South Carolina game. Of course, that's Elijah Griffin out of Savannah Christian. He was a visitor, big visit. All those visits for Elijah are big. This was a recent DawgNation conversation when he was in town in Atlanta for the Marist game. We put together 6 pretty good minutes. First of all, guys, you're going to be blown away by listening to Elijah, the excellent communicator he is. His opinions on Georgia, South Carolina, his decision. Guys, it's a DawgNation conversation here, brought to you by Kroger on Before the Hedges. Unbuckle your chin strap, take a knee, and you're going to love this right here with Elijah Griffin. Elijah, what's going through your mind? I mean, and I don't know if you've been cut blocked before, like the way they blocked you this week.
No, sir, not at all. This is the first. My freshman year we played ECI. I mean, they were kind of similar. Their offense, their wing and T style, but it's a tough loss. But we win, we lose as a team. We win, we lose as a team. It's a team effort. We had a few mistakes on defense, had a few mistakes on offense, but the beauty of football, we always got next week.
Coach said you guys haven't practiced since Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Is that because of the storm or travel or what?
Yes, sir. The weather. Monday, Tuesday were only days because due to the weather. And today our bus broke down, so we were going through a lot of adversity. So, to come out here against these 400-plus win people, and they put only 21 points on us, it means a lot.
How do you think you played?
I feel like I played good. Besides the chop blocks, I feel like I played really good. Got good leverage, hands on, everything.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Obviously you play this position, the defensive line, and how different is that? Knowing you're not going to deal with that every week, that you have to deal with the chop blocks. How did you prepare that mentally coming into the game?
Honestly, I just told myself I got to stay low because they come off the ball low as they did all night, every play, every snap. Where they came off low, they dove at your knees. But that's beautiful football. You always got next week. Luckily we don't face another wing T team. So we'll just prepare for that next year. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Elijah, maybe this doesn't matter to you, but some players tell me, I want people to know why I'm ranked so high. I want to prove it. Other people are like, I could care less. I just do me. Like, how do you look at that?
Honestly, yeah, I could care less. I just do me. It's a blessing to people that think highly of me as that. So I continue to hold myself at a high standard because people are going to continue to hold me at that high standard. And that was just I was raised that way, that I got to do stuff differently compared to everybody else.
6'6", 285. Is that where you're at right now? What do you think?
6'5", 285. Yes, sir.
And I believe you're going to be at Georgia tomorrow.
Oh, yes, sir. I won't be at Georgia tomorrow. Actually.
No?
No, sir.
Were you thinking about it or something like that?
Yes, sir, I was. But next weekend, September 9th, I'll be in Alabama.
How do you feel about the in-state school? I know they're always on you. They want you. How do you feel about them right now?
Georgia's a great school, and I got a good relationship with Coach Scott, the D-line coach, Coach Kirby. Great guys, love them to death. And every time I go up there, it feels like home. My family, we all have a blast.
What do you like best about Georgia?
I would say the atmosphere, and they have the #1 finance and business management program. That's something I kind of want to look at too as I go on with my football career. And once that comes to the end, you always got something to fall back on.
You got a dog trip planned this year, a game visit yet?
Yes, sir, absolutely. September 16th when they play South Carolina. That's where I'll be back.
You love both those schools,
yes, sir,
right?
Absolutely.
How will you be watching that game?
I don't know. I'll be cheering for both. I don't know. Yes, sir.
So when you have something like not being able to practice, you have the adversity. How do you personally go about handling adversity? What are your ways?
Honestly, I just take it day by day. I just prepare myself mentally because if you can't get it physically, you got to prepare mentally by watching film, watching tape. Stretching is very important. I was kind of stiff coming out, so I had to stretch during halftime. But honestly, just preparing and those type of elements.
Gotcha. So I cover Clemson. When you look and think of the Clemson program, what's the first thing that pops into mind when you think about them?
Coach Easton. Coach Easton is a really funny coach. I love him. He actually coached my trainer, D'Angelo Brown. He actually went to Louisville when he played for the Titans. He was his D-line coach. So they have a relationship, relationships that people, and he knows me, so it's just a blessing.
And what is it about Coach Easton that makes him so likable, or one of those types of guys?
He just laughs a lot. He says he just makes the dumb jokes, the dad jokes, But he's a really funny guy. He's a great coach. Obviously, he's going to get on you when you do something wrong. He's going to praise you when you do something good.
Are you considering any visits for Clemson coming up?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I'll be there September 23rd when they play Florida State.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question about that. I know you didn't say you're not going to Georgia. Is there a reason why? What was the reason why that happened?
No, honestly, there was no particular reason. I just, couldn't go out there. Just had family issues. That's it.
Elijah, when things get hard, what drives you? They're supposed to get hard. I think they probably sent doubles at you. They cut you. When things get hard, what drives you?
My grandfather, he actually passed away like 3 years ago. He actually, pushed me to be the best that I could be. And my grandma, my mom, they every day they're hard on me. They make sure that because I'm Elijah Griffin, I have to do things that people wouldn't do, and I have to be not ordinary, unusual. Yes, sir.
Why do you have to do things people don't want to do? You can't be a normal 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid, huh?
Yes, sir. No, I can't be a regular 16-year-old because I'm not a regular 16-year-old. So, yes, sir.
What are those things that you're saying, the unusual things that you have to do, or what are those things specifically?
Like partying. I can't. I like parties. I like parties, obviously, but a lot of kids my age they don't understand where I want to go, and they're not on the same level. So I had to push myself. I have tunnel vision, so I had to stay focused on my goals.
And who's kind of instilled that in you or helped put those values in you?
Definitely my family. My family. My uncle's here. He's right there in the blue shirt over there. He always tells me that I got to stay focused no matter what. Be in the classroom, on the field, off the field, it doesn't matter. Stay focused, do your best, and put your best foot forward.
Hey Elijah, what's the most important thing you're looking for in a decision in a school? What's the value system there like?
Honestly, I want to come in as early as a freshman and make an impact early. I feel like wherever I go, I will make an impact, in my opinion. But I just want to come in early, make an impact, and understand, tell the coaches why I'm here.
Thank you, Elijah. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
There you have it. 5-star defensive lineman. Now, again, we taped that interview earlier this month. It was before the Georgia-South Carolina visit. It was before he's actually going to be at Clemson, Florida State this weekend. At least that was his latest plan. He was at Georgia this past weekend. This was like September 9th in Atlanta after they played Marist. But things to know about Elijah Griffith. Georgia, had another great visit with him. Georgia's always, I think, the best way I can say that is they're going to be a top school right up there for Elijah Griffin. He loves Georgia. Georgia loves him. He's a priority for the class. The other 2025 commits are already working on Elijah. Elijah basically went to the Georgia camp this summer and won all his reps. He even beat Micah DeBose, a guy that was in town this weekend, the commitment out of 2025 out of Mobile, Alabama. 6'5", 285. You just love the head on his shoulders there, what motivates him, how he knows he's 16 years old and he can't do things like parties that other 16-year-olds cannot. Just really impressed with that young man off the field, the type of player he'll be wherever he goes to college football. And I do think Georgia is a major, major contender for him. Justice J. Terry, the 2025 defensive line commitment out of Manchester, continues to recruit him pretty hard to come play with him for the Dogs because those two guys in the middle would be a formidable pair, different players, but that type of talent level perhaps that you saw with Jordan Davis next to Jalen Carter at Georgia. Not quite the same big size athletes, but havoc creators, havoc makers that would look very, very good in red and black. Type of players that would make my good buddy Brandon Adams chortle at the thought of the Dogs lining those guys up. That was number 2, Elijah Griffith on your Big 5. Number 3, I want to take a few minutes to talk about Mekhi Barrow, the 6'4" plus, 365-pound visitor from this past weekend. First of all, he still tells me he's going to take his decision to early signing day. He feels like he made his decision too early, and I love how he told me recently that he basically committed to Florida for 2 reasons. Number 1 is, although Georgia offered earlier, Georgia was a little off and on with him. And Florida, once they offered and when they saw him move in spring practice, he was like the next Aaron Donald to them. They gave him constant, consistent communication. They loved on him. They showed him value. And then also he was just kind of fatigued by the recruiting process. He said he made a mistake in making a commitment to Florida because he wanted the commitment process and the recruiting process to be over with. He wanted to stop it. Didn't like the constant recruiting, so he'd visited Georgia, he'd visited Florida. He actually had a better time, he told me, or at least just as good a time on his Georgia official, but he still chose Florida because of the constant communication and, basically because he already had a good fit for a longer time with Florida. He wishes he would have taken a Michigan visit. Now he's going to go visit schools like Auburn. That sounds like that might be his next visit. He wants to get back up to Michigan. Ole Miss and the Dogs this weekend specifically Mackay told me that Kirby Smart told him he needed him, that he needs a big anchor in the middle. And Travion Scott had a question for him. He said he wanted to know if he could see himself at Georgia after what he saw this past weekend. And what he saw was a lot of good football players on the field on the interior defensive line for Georgia, but he didn't see a lot of 6'5", 360-pound guys that can knock the center back, that can anchor down the middle of the field, that would allow Georgia to play with maybe 5, no more than 6 in the box to control the run game with linebackers like Chris Cole in the future, Raylan Wilson, C.J. Allen. And Trey Scott asked him if he could see himself at Georgia. And Mackay said yes. And then I said, well, you've had a couple of days to think about it. Can you still see yourself at Georgia? And he told me that same thing earlier this week. So it was a great visit for Georgia. It's not one that's going to be a Katie bar the door visit because he's not going to commit early. He doesn't want to commit early. This is the son of a former NFL player. Wants to be a mechanical engineer because he really loves cars. That's a couple good minutes on Mackay Burrow, one of the final remaining targets for Georgia in the class. He's out of Creekside. Of course, for players from Creekside, we know these things to be true. He's fast. He's very fast, big jumbo freakish athlete for his size. Very physical, very tough. Those players get after it. Very hard-nosed players. And he's going to take a minute. He's going to make his final decision public on early signing day. So that's when he, as of now, tells me that will go until December. And he was a big visitor for this past weekend in Athens. So that's something to think about. The second thing to talk about this week, let's kind of go, I guess, kind of an overview. Everybody wants to know about the South Carolina recruiting visitors. The way I looked at him, I think Burrow was a big visitor. I think obviously Aiden Breland was a big visitor, and I think Georgia eked ahead now, or at least Georgia put itself in kind of the pole position for Aiden Breland. I think that decision is really going to come down to Georgia or Oregon. He really feels like he can be developed now at Georgia. Continues to feel that way. He saw another game day experience. Georgia's got a lot of momentum right now in that recruitment. Who knows if he's going to take that all the way to early signing day. That's going to kind of be a feel thing for Aiden Breland. But I now think I'll kind of show some early cards. I feel like Georgia I feel like Aiden Breland now becomes the top remaining target for Georgia in the 2024 class. Defensive lineman. You heard Chris Cole even reference him there. Let me see. This was a good visit for guys like Justin Williams and Joseph Jonah Ajonye, 2 5-star commitments to basically validate all the feelings they've had for Georgia. They absolutely love it. It was a great visit. I don't know if you saw the tweets I had this weekend from or this early this week from some of the visitors, but you got to see Justin Williams doing the swag surf in the rain in a poncho. They played it in Athens. I think they only play it in Athens now when it's raining. Not like Auburn when they play it all day long. But that was another good visit, of course. A lot of the commitments were there. I think some of the bigger visitors, that the ones I'm tracking, were the 2025 recruiting class. In particular, there's one visitor I don't think not a lot of people are talking about. I've already gotten a chance to talk to him this week. It'll be a story on DawgNation.com. That is a junior wide receiver out of Westlake, Travis Smith Jr., 6'4", 215, 220. Great football player. He seems really impressed by Georgia. He seems really intrigued by Georgia. He's a guy that I think Georgia's going to prioritize going forward in the 2025 class, and might be one of the top receivers on the board already from the way he's played at Westlake High. 2025 prospect. The other guys, there's a lot of them from that class to take a look at, but from that visitors list. But, Elijah Griffin was also a very big visitor as well. We've talked about him a little bit. Amari Adams out of South Carolina, I thought that was another huge visitor this weekend. I think Georgia really needed that to be a great visit. Another 2025 defensive lineman out of South Carolina. I think the Dogs needed that to go well, and it did. That's a good overview of the recruiting visitors for this weekend. You guys got a question about somebody else's specific name, drop it in the comments, and I'll come back to it during our live Q&A portion of the program. And number 5, put 5 up in the air. The last part of our Big 5, we always, if you're new to Before the Hedges, we always try to talk about 5 huge topics right now that are prevalent to the Georgia football recruiting beat. And those are the 5. We had to talk about Elijah Griffin. We had to talk about Mackay Burrow. We had to talk about Chris Cole. He was our live guest. If you're just joining us now, you missed a really awesome live conversation here on Before the Edges. But the other piece of news to think about, if you want to make sure you're getting your daily multivitamin, I guess, of Georgia football recruiting news, is that the Dogs are on commitment watch. September the 22nd, I believe it's going to be around noon at Alpharetta High School. The nation's number 4 tight end for 2025. That is Ethan Barbour. He is going to make his college decision. He's a top 200 prospect. I love lots of aspects to his game. He is an all-around tight end. He loves getting physical. He loves, unlike some of the commitments Georgia and the signees Georgia's had recently at tight end, this is a guy that doesn't mind being an attached tight end. He doesn't mind being a blocking tight end. There's sometimes where he's called out in games that said, let's go bash them. Let's go bump on people. Let's go. I want to mix it up with people. He instead of wanting the ball in a big game or a big moment, he wants to go block. He wants to go hit people. He wants to go make a play as a blocker on the perimeter as well. Final 4 is Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Ohio State, and South Carolina. He just visited Georgia for the Ball State game, and Georgia has made him a priority. He went to Georgia for the Ball State game. He was at Georgia for the cookout. This is another Todd Hartley fashion here. He could already have finished out his tight end recruiting for the 2025 class before October of 2023. That's how Todd Hartley gets down. He likes to do his work, finish his work ahead of time. If you ever were around anybody in college that had their project done or had their assignments done like a week in advance, so early in advance that they were double and triple checking it when everybody else was just starting. It's kind of like how Todd Hartley gets down with recruiting. Ethan Barbour is set to make his decision. Big name going to come off the board for the 2025 class. In-state for the Raiders of Alpharetta High. The best little nugget I can tell you about Ethan Barbour is Ethan is a guy that his head coach described him this way. All you need to know about Ethan is his dad has an MBA from Duke, and he was also in the Army. And Ethan's wired that way. Like his mother she's in financial advisement at Merrill Lynch. And then he has an older sister that was almost the valedictorian of her class that went to Vanderbilt. This is a guy, much like Chris Cole, much like Elijah Griffin looked as well. Ethan is a guy that's going to succeed in the classroom, going to succeed in life after football is over and after their college football and pro football careers are over. It seems like there's a pattern. If it seems like there's a pattern there about the way Georgia goes about finding these All-American players that are also like that, that is the pattern. That's what Georgia has identified as the secret sauce in their recruiting. Some schools recruit very talented prospects. Georgia recruits very talented winners. Winners means, I don't mean like champions of life, like something that Tennessee would put on a T-shirt. I mean people that win in every area of their life. They win in their relationships. They win in the way they handle themselves socially. They win in the classroom. They win in all their interpersonal communications and relationships. That's kind of the way it is right there. Ethan Barbour, that's number 5 on our Before the Hedges Big 5. Let me give you a couple other things. Something I noticed recently is there have been some re-rankings. I find it curious, let's use the word curious, that Dylan Raiola is no longer the number 1 player in the country on the 24/7 Sports Composite. I think he drops down to number 4 overall. He lost to start actually with On3.com. He's rated, probably like a number 40 overall prospect with them. I don't see any warning bells worth talking about with that. All I see with Raiola when I see him play is this is a leader. He is probably a master at forging relationships, great at communication, and also he's a 6'3", 220-pound pro-style passer that can make every throw. He's very durable. He's running a lot. He's on the move a lot, throwing the ball for Buford High School so far. He's been able to play in some tight spots. He's been able to play when he's not at his best. He's been able to make the plays. He's handling a lot of the Buford playbook. And also he layers the ball, I think, just about as well as I've seen any 5-star future Golden Boy quarterback do so in quite some time, along with that very, very big arm. Georgia's going to be great with play action with him, shooting the ball downfield. Another recent rankings I've seen is Nate Frazier, the recent commitment, was named the number 1 running back in the country and a 5-star by On3.com as well. And another tidbit, you won't believe it, but Ryan Puglisi is going to play the quarterback commitment out of Connecticut. He's a Massachusetts native. He's going to play his first high school football game this week, and it'll be on Saturday. And that's very uncommon. He just got through scrimmage season for Avon Old Farms in Connecticut. They play in a post-grad league, a boarding school league, where here it is going to be September the 23rd. And he hasn't played a game yet. And some of the players in Georgia, Texas, wherever you want to do it, some of his peers in the 2024 class are already on game number 5. I think that is absolutely crazy, but it's how folks get down and do it with football and Friday night lights in some parts of the world. Guys, that's been a little bit extra. Speaking about a little bit extra, let me do this. Remember I was telling you I was grinning like a Cheshire cat because I was so excited about all the good stuff that we had coming in the show tonight. Let me pull something out of my back pocket. I haven't even tweeted this out yet. I always like try to give you guys stuff. Who remembers, I wasn't alive thinking as a person when this came out, but the old Superman movie, the very first one with Christopher Reeve, I think the marketing slogan for that movie, I studied it in college when I was taking some advertising classes in Athens, but one of the slogans was, or media message classes. I don't think it was advertising. It was a media message class, but it was, "You will believe a man can fly." And they actually showed on the silver screen, on the big screen, like how a character in live action could fly. Well, I'm going to show you something right now, and I guess the only thing that comes to my mind right now is you will believe a 6'8", 330-pound, 340-pound offensive tackle, huge target for Georgia in 2025. You will believe a 6'8", 335-pound tackle can kick field goals. And I got video for you. Check this out. This was this week at Westlake High School. Westlake is having some issues with its kicking. And lo and behold, Juan Gaston Jr. said, "You know what, Coach? Put me in, Coach. I can do a little bit of that." He actually kicked a 40-yarder pregame earlier this season. But check this out, guys. I don't know if I've ever seen it before. And when I haven't seen it before, I'm like, everybody out there that follows Georgia recruiting has got to see this. Check out this video right here. See him lining up right here. You see him going aim his target right there. That's 6'8", 340 pounds. He's a top prospect on the board for the Dogs in 2025. He recently just dropped his top 8. You see him right there. He's not off the tee. He's just kind of nailing them off the hold. You see him make a bunch of those right there. They're auditioning the young man to be their kind of stopgap guy at kicker right now. And I think every one of those reps I showed you, almost every one of those went through there. So, yeah, I told you your jaw's going to drop about that one because, folks, these eyes have not seen anything quite like that from a 6'8", 335-pound kicker before. As if that weren't enough, let's roll with the 2024 class breakdown. It's another good one. Some of these things, like, wow. Look at these names. This is offense, guys. Georgia has 16 commitments on offense. We had some people lose their top 100 status recently. Daniel Calhoun lost his top 100 status recently. Let me see. Colton Heinrich was there on Saturday. Marquez Easley was there on Saturday. Malachi Tolliver was there on Saturday. Daniel Calhoun was there on Saturday. Michael Uni was not. Kobe White was there on Saturday. Nitro Tuggle was not. Nitro is still a top 100 prospect. Dwight Phillips Jr. was there actually for his official visit on Saturday. He took his official visit with Nate Frazier as well. That's your offensive breakdown, 16 names right there. Still, Georgia has the number 1 class in the country. This is the Drew Miller slide. Drew Miller, keep doing your thing. Drew Miller, he's getting more airtime each and every week. We try to say something great about Drew Miller. Number 1 punter in the country. And then we roll on to the defensive side of the ball. And this where Jordan Thomas, I don't know what the recruiting industry is doing with him, but they dropped him. He's no longer a top 100 player. He's like 108, 109. Justin Green was there on Saturday as well. Quintavious Johnson Jr. was there. He was actually doing the swag surf, clean like this detergent in Sanford Stadium on Saturday in the rain. Joseph Jonah Ajanye was there. Nemande Ogboko was there. Christopher Jones was there. That was his first visit inside Sanford as well. You've heard from Chris Cole. You've heard from Justin Williams. And Ellis Robinson IV and DeMello Jones are currently the only 2 defensive backs committed in this class. That's your class breakdown. Now let's look at this recruiting snapshot. 27 commitments. Still kind of bonkers to look at that right there and see 27 commitments right there. 18 out-of-state commitments, 9 in-state commitments. Georgia has the most commitments in the state. There are 2 offensive players among the 5 highest-rated commitments. And now look at that. It's now 5-5. The offensive players among the top 10 highest-rated commitments is 5. Georgia only has now a mere 11 players inside the top 100. There's actually more of those on the offensive side of the ball. Continue to stress how important that is. Top 150 commitments. Let me give you something beyond the numbers right here. Georgia with 18 top 150 commitments. 10 offense, 8 defense. Certainly that sounds good, but get this. The number 2 school in the nation as far as the recruiting rankings go, they have 11. Georgia has 18. So that's 7 more absolute dudes. Capital D, all uppercase, boldface, italicized, super fonts right there for those into graphic design. Georgia has 18 guys that are considered among the elite of the elite players in the country. If you're a top 150 commitment in the country, that means you're going to be a starter in an All-American game. Georgia has 18 of those right there. And let's also move along. This is what I hinted at earlier in the show. Updated 2024 top targets. Got a top targets graphic. You have a new number 1. That's Aiden Breland out of Mater Dei, Santa Ana, California. Let me tell you, folks, LJ McCray, I think things went well for Georgia with Aiden Breland. That's why he's now number 1 on the remaining top targets. But I think things also went well down in Gainesville for LJ McCray and the Gators. I think it's going to be pretty hard for the Dogs to be able to probably win that commitment now from LJ McCray. He's still he recently got a 5-star recruiting ranking from On3, but there's a lot of pull, there's a lot of push inside his circle for him to stay in state, and I think the Gators show improvement, especially with that big win against Tennessee on Saturday. That it's kind of what he wanted to see, and it's going to be very hard for Georgia to win that recruitment. Don't think they're out of it, but I think Georgia's in a tougher spot than they were in maybe a couple weeks ago. Number 3 name on the list, we talked about him earlier, is Mekhi Barrow. He tells me he's going to take it all the way to early signing day in December. He feels like he made the commitment decision too early, but Georgia had an outstanding visit with Mekhi Barrow in the 2024 class, and he was in Athens on Saturday amongst the conga line of robust, unofficial visitors in town for South Carolina on Saturday. Now, guys, guess what? You've had a live show. You've had Elijah Griffith. You've had a 6'8", 335-pounder kicking extra points. You've had some talk about last week's recruiting weekend. You learned that Georgia is on a commitment watch with a potential another All-American type commitment potential for the 2025 class and Ethan Barbour. We've covered a lot of things, but now you got a question, you want to know about anything going on with Georgia football recruiting, now is your chance. This is called our live Q&A. If we had some theme music for this part, I wonder what it would be. Now, you guys have already heard like Guns N' Roses all over the background. Folks, I can't do anything about that. Guns N' Roses were all over the background of that Elijah Griffith interview. I don't know who else was in there. Maybe it was some Zach Brown band, but you had a lot of – hopefully YouTube folks are not going to strike us for a copyright thing because we've got Welcome to the Jungle, I believe. We've got Welcome to the Jungle in the back of a commitment interview, but in terms of, a DawgNation conversation prospect interview. But sometimes you can't help it. You want to get interviews. You want to get your B-roll. You want to get your good content for Before the Hedges. You can't really walk up to the press box and tell them to unplug the aux cord or roll everything down right now. But you guys got a question. That was me trying to make some time to go look at YouTube for any questions. Hey, Randy, how are you doing? Yep, Frederick Meredith, you're right. Nate Frazier picked up his 5th star for on3.com, but not the 24/7 Sports Composite. Randy Payne wants to know, do I think Georgia will take a QB in 2025? I don't think so, Randy. I think they're going to be set with the 2024s they got right there. Jermaine King wants the final countdown is the theme music for Before the Hedges. Jermaine, you know what my advice would be? I love this song to this day. It would be Some Cut by Trillville. Like, if we could just have that theme music from Some Cut by Trillville in there, that would be the perfect now people are like, what in the world is Some Cut by Trillville? But I love that theme music. And that would be a great little background sample to put in that. Of course, that would get us a copyright violation as well. Let me see. Other questions. Champ wants to know, is Raiola being downgraded because he's committed or because of his play? I don't think it's either of those because every quarterback's committed right now. I think, and I don't see this, but I do try to interpret what others see, and I think it's becoming more of the norm where you want your quarterback to have elite movement skill. Now, DJ Lagaway is the number one quarterback now in the country, I think, according to the On3 ranking. Not the 24/7 Sports composite ranking or whatever, but people like to see their quarterbacks move around a lot, or at least escape the pocket. Julian Sand is, he's not a dual threat by any chance, but he is an efficient guy about moving the chains, buying time, escaping, keeping his eye downfield. I think with the most that are looking at Raiola in that way, and again, I'm not of that opinion, but most that are looking at Raiola in that way kind of see him as not being extremely mobile, maybe confined to the pocket. But it's funny, that's all the young man I know has worked on for the last maybe year or so. Like he trains on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Buford. I think what you've seen out of Raiola on the move right now, throwing on the move at Buford, is a plus, is an upgrade to what he had on film so far. What he's been able to move around and try to get around the pocket under duress at Buford. I think those skills have been enhanced over the last 4 or 5 weeks playing in big boy Georgia high school football. Let me see. Let me go to Facebook for a couple more questions. It's definitely an interesting time, guys, for recruiting when you've got the class already almost all buttoned up and put together this early in the cycle. Georgia's, I think, one of the common questions I get, I'm going to try and help out with that. One of the common questions I get is I think they're going to take at least 2 or 3 guys more, 2 or 3 more guys. I see Jerry Russell. I see your question. No, I don't think Georgia – the questions go when Jerry says Georgia's way ahead of schedule in 2024 recruiting, but my question is this: are there drawbacks to being so far ahead? Does it hurt with guys that commit late? There's not a lot of guys that are waiting to commit late. I think there are very few uncommitted 5 stars as well. I think Jordan Seaton, the offensive lineman, might be one of the rare big names that are taking it all the way. I think the biggest thing, and that's a good topic to talk about, I think the biggest thing there is you kind of have to continue to recruit your guys like they're uncommitted. You have to put in, flip prevention by continuing to your core guys. Guys are going to come after them. And you kind of have to still invest your time in making sure your commitments are there as well. Philip Jordan Wells, what I'm talking about. Some cut, Trillville. That's just a great background hook. Let me see. Good question, though. Phil Rogers wants to know if Georgia is recruiting anybody in Jacksonville, Florida. Not in this class. I guess you could say L.J. McCray because he's in Daytona Beach, not too far out. But it'd be interesting Carson Beck go back to Jacksonville for the Florida game this year. Likely still to be the Georgia starter as a native son of Jacksonville. So now for all those years that Dog fans went down there, Georgia fans went down there, and they heard about Tim Tebow leading the Gators out of Jacksonville. Well, now it's a flip side there with Carson Beck leading the Dogs. William A. Camacho, no, Georgia has never had a kicker that was 6'5", 4 inch 5 inches before, 6 feet 5 inches before. And William, everybody else there, I did not mean to confuse you. Georgia is recruiting Juan Gaston Jr. as an offensive tackle. Probably needed to include a disclaimer there. They're recruiting him as an offensive tackle. I'm just showing you this guy is so athletic. This guy has the type of feet. He thinks he's got the best hands on the team. He thinks he's got the best feet on the team. He is that athletic that he can go kick extra points and field goals for his high school team. But in no ways am I insinuating that Georgia is recruiting him as a kicker. I'm just telling you this guy is good enough to do that. Randy Hall brings up a good name, Malcolm Ziegler, the DB out of North Carolina, currently committed in North Carolina as a safety. I think that I think that I'll really try to focus on that recruitment when he takes a visit to Georgia. I was told by a lot of people when the offer first went out, it's going to be hard for Georgia to pull him because he's got a lot of even Georgia. Georgia has a lot to pull him because he's got a lot of family ties and connections to the Tar Heels program. And I also got to mention this. I know somebody's going to say, Jeff, you didn't I try to be thorough, encompassing here. You're going to say, what about KJ Bolden? I just don't see it. I think one visit to Georgia, which was his 16th, and another great chance to interact with Kirby and Fran Brown and Georgia's amazing recruiting staff. You know, if the first 15, 16 visits didn't do it, I don't know why the 17th would, especially with Florida State playing so well. I don't know what anything else Georgia can do in that recruiting process to flip him because, let's face it, the number one team in the country, back-to-back national championships, there is an opening for him to come in and play right away at safety for Georgia. You could see that on the field that Georgia's second team and third team safeties, they need a player that can play like KJ Bolden because I think KJ Bolden can probably make that type of first-year impact and be a good player. Maybe not totally Malachi Starks, but he could make a key contribution as a freshman if he's being coached up by the Georgia defensive backfield. But, hey, you look at all that, you look at how Georgia puts DBs in the league, and I don't know if Georgia's case can be any stronger for him to KJ Bolden. And KJ Bolden, you know, credit to him. He did his own thing. He wanted to go his own way. He went with his heart. I know a lot of people are going to say he went with a lot more than his heart, but I can remember talking to KJ when he was a freshman, and he would say, man, my dream school is Florida. And Florida State, excuse me. And he's at his dream school right now. And this is a different era of college football recruiting, to say the least. And I don't know if the Dogs are going to be able to build a case, and they're going to show him something now in the last 3 or 4 months of his recruitment that will make him change his mind. How about that, guys? That is a Before the Hedges show. We packed this sucker to the gills. We had the marvelous Miss Mansell back there. I hope she knows that's a reference. You guys all know that's a reference to Amazon Prime and the really fun comedy show about the incredibly talented comedian on Amazon Prime. But I always like to call her, especially when she puts together a great show, hitting the buttons for us and getting our guests online and everything. I like to call her the marvelous Miss Mansell because of all the effort she does for us each and every week. Let's all have a clap in the comment section for Miss Kaylee, by the way. But now she's going to be really mad at me because I'm making it even more bigger deal out of it as is. But we just appreciate her. Guys, thank you for joining us here on BeforeTheHedges.com. We tried to put together a 5-star show. We had a lot of guests. Chris Cole live. It's about as good as it gets in terms of a live guest. I did not tell him to look like he was inside the University of Georgia library when he showed up on our Zoom, but he did. That's how Dr. Cole rolls. We talked about the big recruiting weekend. We got you a chance to see what I've seen recently out of Elijah Griffin, the number one player in the country for the 2025 class out of Savannah. Now you know why the Dogs are after him. Now you know why the Dogs should empty both barrels. I'm using that as a metaphor there. Should empty both barrels in order to try and sign him in the 2025 class. That type of impressive player there. You know the Dogs are on Commitment Watch. You know everything else. But you know what else? You know where to go to get your groceries. You know where to go. You go up and down those aisles, and you feel like you're Mackay Muse going up and down a punt return, having a great time, enjoying yourself. Guys, put it all on for you each and every week. I'm Jeff Sentell. That has been your intel. We will see you guys again later on the pages of DawgNation Got Time. DawgNation Got Time. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Before the Hedges, and we'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. And I'm going to tell you, another really strong live guest coming next week. We're going to let you wonder about that one for the next 6 or 7 days. Got a big one scheduled for next week. We will see you guys later on DawgNation. Watch Brandon Adams in the morning. Keep attention. Go with the flow on Friday. You got happy hour on Thursday, and you got the Jittery Joe's pregame show as well on Saturday. DawgNation's everywhere. We'll see you guys later.